Shalom. This morning, been working on the Parashah Shemini, which is number, I think, 26. It's the third one in Leviticus. Last week we incorporated Vayikra and Tav together with Pesach in the context of specifically the burnt offering, which is the Olah offering, which relates to the Passover lamb, which was also roasted, and everything had to be burnt, those things who are not consumed. So it's a type of burnt offering. It's not exactly a burnt offering. The Passover lamb is actually a offering that is the collective of all the sacrifices in one. And the character of Messiah is found within the lamb. Now, a lamb, when you slaughter a lamb versus slaughtering a pig, when you slaughter a pig, it screams and go crazy. It's like a human being, tortured and murdered. They've got an idea that their life has been threatened, and they put up a massive fight and a lot of noise and screaming happening. When you slaughter a lamb, the lamb offer his neck, give his neck, and then you sacrifice. It's a very peaceful experience to sacrifice a lamb versus a pig. And that's to show that the Messiah offered himself. He's not against his will. He didn't scream and fight and carried on. He just offered himself like a lamb. The other thing about the Passover lamb, it connects to the two goats through the menorah branch that connects unleavened bread with Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur has one sacrifice with two functions symbolized by the twin goats, the two goats. The one is the blood of the sin sacrifice for unconditional sin. So that is deliberate sin, where the blood is taken into the Holy of Holies and sprinkled on the mercy seat for the benefit of the nation. And through Mashiach, it's now for the benefit of the nations. And the Azazel goat, the other part of the sacrifice, is taking away the sin. So that's where the priest put his hand upon the head of the goat and transferred the sin of the nation upon the head of the goat. And then that goat was pushed over a cliff after traveling through the wilderness. Now, there was a red thread tied to the horn of the goat, as also to the door of the tabernacle. So one piece remained on the tabernacle. As soon as the goat died, that little piece of rope turned white supernaturally. And that stopped happening after Yeshua's death. And that miracle didn't happen up to 70 AD until the temple was destroyed. So that's a sign that Yeshua fulfilled the Yom Kippur offerings as well. So that's just a bit of a recap. Moving into Shemini, it talks about the 8th day where Aaron and the priesthood conducted sacrifices. Now, the 8th day is part of the previous 7 days, so we have to read the end of Tav, which is the righteous man, which is Tzadik Vav, what makes us righteous. And the last part of Tav is about the consecration of the priesthood. And the consecration of the priesthood happened inside the tabernacle for 7 days. They weren't allowed to leave the tabernacle for 7 days, and they ate unleavened bread. So there's our connection with Pesach, specifically with the 7 days of unleavened bread. It overlays the 7 days of the consecration of the priesthood that is followed by the 8th day of the sacrifices that is part of this Torah portion. Now we're going to delve a bit deeper into the consecration of the 7 days versus unleavened bread and what that means when we study the Torah portion. I'm not going to elaborate on that. It's just to see the theme of Pesach and unleavened bread, overlaid with the theme of this Torah portion, which matter of fact is within the 7 days. So this Saturday coming up is still within the 7 days. The first day of unleavened bread started on Monday, which was the 15th of Nisan. Pesach was actually the Sunday with the starting of the evening of Saturday. So we celebrated Pesach at the evening of Nisan 14, which is similar to the time frame that Yeshua celebrated with his disciples. And then the next evening was between the evenings where you prepare the lamb, and then you eat that at the evening after sunset at the beginning of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which is actually the sacrificial lamb. That's when Yeshua was taken off the stake or the cross and was put in the grave. So all of this beautifully harmonizes with this Torah portion, and we actually get the insight from this Torah portion through the revelation of the time frame wherein specifically the timing of Pesach overlaid over these Torah portions. And it's the first time in the history that I'm studying the Torah portion that this is happening. So it's like Yahweh is revealing something special to us this year by the Torah portion coinciding with Shimini, underlining the meaning of unleavened bread. The rest of this Torah portion is about sacrifices, and it's also about strange fire, and then it ends with the commandments regarding food, or the kosher laws, if you like. And all of that is still in the theme of the consecration, which starts on the 8th day. So what's the meaning of number 8? Now, number 8 is the same as number 1. It's the starting of a new cycle. So we had the birth of the tabernacle, which was prior to Vayikra. And then we had Vayikra and Tav continuing the storyline of the baby and taking care of the baby and the priesthood depicted by Sarah. And now we continue with the consecration of Sarah, or the consecration of the priesthood, who are now being appointed and equipped. And they now start their cycle, handing out the gifts that they received from Yahweh to look after the people within the outer court. And that's what we're also going to look at in this Torah portion. Now, just like the receiving of the 10 words, before they received the first set of commandments, which Moses broke, they broke the covenant through making a golden calf. In the same way, we have the consecration of the priesthood and the offerings for the priesthood and the congregation. And right after that, guess what happened? The priesthood defiled the sacrificial system, and strange fire was brought into the house of Yahweh that caused the death of Aaron's 2 sons. So it's very interesting to see the same pattern. As soon as they find a new commandment within the old cycle, when the new cycle starts, there's sin. There's a bit of a wobble, and then Yahweh need to intercede, make some adjustments and changes, and then carry on. So we see the same pattern happening, and it seems like it's human nature that whenever we hear something from Yahweh, we tend to go the other way first before we do the right thing. So I'm going to leave you with that today. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we will continue this conversation later this week. Have a beautiful day. Shalom.